All right, today we're going to be looking at probably the most important thing of the three topics that we're going to be looking at, which is credit and loans. First of all, what is credit? Well, credit is borrowing money. So it's money that you don't have now, but you need money in order to get something. First of all, you need to have the ability to borrow. There's a lot of trust that's involved with people that are asking for credit. The person that is asking for credit has to have a good history of being able to keep their promises. And the person that is loaning the money needs to have that trust relationship with that person, saying that that person is going to pay back the money. So credit is also borrowing money now in order to pay it back later. Credit is a responsibility. It's keeping your promises. And a lot of people get in trouble because they break those promises with credit. You have to understand that credit is not a right. It's a privilege. It must be earned. And if you don't have the background in order to make good decisions, people are not going to give you credit. And you also have to be able to show that you've got some careful manage of your money. You have to be looking at your savings and your checking accounts. Do you have a history of paying your bills on time? Like your phone bill, your water bill, your electric bill, all of those have to be taken into consideration before anybody is going to give you any kind of credit. So on the left-hand side over here, we've got some examples of credit cards. You need to have the ability to build good credit. Just like myself, I'm trying to buy a new car, and every time that I am asking for a contract to buy the car, the people that are looking at my information, they're looking first at my credit history. So the higher the score you have on your credit history, the better your chances are of getting that loan to get the car. So build it that has a history of the things that I've done in the past. So have I paid my bills on time? Have I had other credit cards that I have had responsibility in paying from month to month? So that's the key thing in order to get big things like going to college and getting a car and buying a house. So what makes up your credit history? It's your income, so how much money you are bringing in from your job, and then the history of paying your bills. For instance, like your electric bill, your water bill, other credit card bills that you have in your name. So in order to establish credit, you have to have a savings account, a checking account, and you have to have a history of managing them well. So how do credit cards work? Well, first of all, nothing is free. So in order to use a credit card, you're going to be charged what is called a lending fee. So this fee is interest on the money that you spend from month to month. So let's say that there's a great pair of shoes that you want to buy, but you don't have the cash on you. So you use your credit card to pay for that. Well, when the bill comes, it's your responsibility to pay that off. If you don't pay it off, then there is a percent that is tacked on to that amount from month to month. And each credit card has what is called an APR, which is annual percentage rate. Now, these annual percentage rates can vary from card to card. Most of the time, the annual percentage rate is from 15% all the way up to 20 to 23%. So when you think about credit cards, you have to think in the short term. These are short-term loans of money that you need to pay back in the short term. So there are three different ways that you can pay back credit cards. First, which is my recommendation every time, you pay it in full. That's why I have 3 stars past it. You pay it in full. That way, you don't owe any interest. And I put this chart on here to kind of show you how this works. So let's say that you have a $1,500 fee for your, let's say, the month of April. And you have 1 month to pay off the card. If you pay off everything at the end, you owe the credit card company 0 amount of money. Credit card companies really don't like me because they're not making a whole lot of money off of me as far as my bills are concerned. They're making their interest off the companies that are using the credit cards or allowing them to use their credit cards at their stores. So they're not making too much money off of me because I'm paying off my credit card every month. Now, another way that you can pay monthly is pay partial. So here we go with our $1,500 bill. We decide we're only going to pay $135. How long is it going to take you to pay off that $1,500? 1 year. So the $1,500, if you pay $135 every time, it'll take you an entire year to pay off that $1,500. And you're going to pay $125 in interest. So you're going to pay on top of the $1,500 an additional $125 for that total amount. So you end up paying $1,625. If you cannot pay your credit card bill in full, then the next route is the partial payment. The one that I don't recommend at all is the minimum payment. So when you get your credit card bill, it's going to tell you what the minimum amount is that you should pay for that particular month. So still have our $1,500 credit card bill at the end of the month, and you decide that you're only going to pay $30 for the minimum payment. How long is that going to take you to pay off just that $1,500? 11 years. 11 years. Now that's not adding on any other amounts to your credit card. That is just on that $1,500. And how much are you going to be paying in total interest every time? $1,413 in addition to the $1,500 that you spend initially. That's just in interest. You're paying over $1,000 in interest. So you're paying the credit card, the bank that gave you the credit card, $1,000 to use $1,500 of their money. So in the end, you're going to be paying $2,913 in using just the minimum amount every month. And that's going to take you 11 years. 11 years. So you're going to be a full-grown adult before you pay off just $1,500. So I do not recommend this. This is where people get in trouble. When you only pay the minimum amount of money, you are going to get in trouble because it's going to take you forever to pay off your credit card. Bad credit. So when you don't pay off your credit card bills, then you end up with bad credit, which then lowers your credit score, which then affects your credit history, and you will not be able to buy a car, you will not be able to buy a house, and that's going to be a big issue in your future. So bad credit, missing a payment, which is that's a number one thing. Don't do. Do not miss a payment. And if you do late payments, most banks, most credit card companies will charge you $25 in late fees if you're even 1 day late in paying your credit card bill. So let's see how this works. Here's a good video to show you how the credit card companies actually work.
If you have a large amount of credit card debt and are only making the minimum payment every month, you're not going to pay it off anytime soon. In fact, if you only make minimum payments, it could be decades before you find yourself debt-free again. Say, for example, you have $10,000 in credit card debt, which is represented by the water level in this glass. In order to pay off that $10,000, you'll need to empty that entire glass by returning the money you owe to your credit card company. So every month you pour out a little water by making your minimum payment, which is on average around $142. That payment lowers the total amount you owe to $9,858. That's a little bit lower, but not much. Unfortunately, there are outside influences that can raise that amount, mainly being interest. Interest normally charges you around 17% of your outstanding balance at the end of every month. After 17% interest on your outstanding balance is charged, that brings your new debt amount to $9,999. So after 1 month, you've paid your credit card company $142, but your total debt has only gone down by $1. The next month, if you still only make the same minimum payment of $142, your debt will be down to $9,857. But again, there's that pesky interest sneaking up on you. So after paying 17% interest again, your debt is back up to $9,998. That means after paying your credit card company $284, your total debt has only gone down by $2. After a year of making that same minimum payment every month, you'll have paid your credit card company $1,846, but you'll still owe $9,995. That means it'll take you an entire year just to lower your debt by $5. And a year later, you've only lowered what you owe your credit card company by another $5. Eventually you'll see that if you took action to lower your debt, the money you're paying the credit card company could go towards things that you'd much rather have, like a used car, or a brand new car, or part of your child's college education, or even grad school. Then, after a quarter century and more than $40,000, your debt will only be $1,578 less. Only after 35 years without a single late or missed payment will you finally start to see some progress when you have a little more than $1,000 left to pay. Then, after 36 years of paying $142 minimum payments and 17% interest every month, you will finally have paid off your entire $10,000 of debt. But in order to pay off that $10,000, you've taken more than 3.5 decades of your life and spent more than 60 grand. Just imagine if you had an extra $61,060. You could have used that for anything from shopping and vacations to paying your mortgage or rent. Or you could just set it aside for retirement. You could even have spent that money on your children or grandchildren, because even if you didn't have them before you got into debt, you could wind up with both of them after 36 years.
So can you see how people get into big trouble using credit cards and not paying them off? Here's another story, a real life story of a girl that made some bad decisions in college using credit.
Robin Beck looks back on her college years with a mixture of pride and regret.
What I enjoyed about college is that I was able to walk away with a degree and go find a job. But what I regret most is, getting a credit card, racking it up, and getting multiple credit cards and doing the same thing. So, because now I have to deal with it now, and I'm paying it off now, and it's kind of hard to deal with.
Robin graduated with a degree in fine arts and nearly $7,000 in high-interest credit card debt. Paying off those cards costs her nearly 20% of her take-home salary every month.
Things that I charged on my credit card in college were, those spring break vacations, going out to eat with friends, numerous times. Other things were like materialistic things like clothes, accessories, makeup, all that good stuff, trying to keep up with everyone else. I wish I could do those things now, Now I can't have those things. I have to do with, what I've got and, wait until my shoes are falling apart before I can buy new ones. I can't enjoy the things that I enjoyed in college because I enjoyed them in college. I guess when I was making the purchases in college with my credit card saying, I can just pay that off later, I figured I'd be making more money than what I was given through financial aid and through my parents. And in reality, you're not. You have to compensate for other things like tax being taken out of your salary, groceries, gas is something I didn't even think about because my parents always paid it. All those little things, they will add up.
Robin is not alone. 21% of college students graduate with $7,000 in credit card debt. Credit cards are easy to get. 83% of college students have at least one. And many students turn to credit cards to finance their wants, like clothes, entertainment, and trips.
Let's say you have a $2,000 credit card. If you just pay the minimum amount each month, it's going to take about 8 years to pay off that debt. A better plan would be to get a part-time job to pay for the things that you want, and a low-interest education loan would help you cover the costs of tuition, books, and housing.
It's a financial lesson Robin says she never got in college, but one she's learning, now that she's paying her own bills.
I heard this phrase, if you live like a professional while you're in college, you'll live like a student when you get out. Because I did live like a professional. Now that I've been through the experience, I've noticed I lived an extravagant lifestyle in college when I should be living it now when I have a job and I'm a young adult. I think of it this way: I could be making a car payment for what I'm paying for in credit cards.
That's the first thing that's going to happen when you get to college, is that when you go to buy your books at a bookstore, there is going to be a credit card table set up. And these credit card companies always like to get to freshmen in college and try to get you to sign up for a credit card, because they say that you can't have any credit history unless you begin with a credit card. Try to avoid those. If you decide to get one, don't use it all the time. Use it for things that you know that you'll be able to pay off at the end of the month. So be very careful with credit cards. Now, on the flip side, we've got things called loans. Now, loans are different than credit because loans are used for large purchases. And then so what you do is you borrow all of the money that you need up front. So banks are going to say, here's the set amount of money that you need, and it's a fixed amount. So credit cards, that can change from month to month, but with a loan, it's a fixed amount. And then every month you pay back a fixed amount to the bank. So you are making the same amount of payment because you know what the end result is. You know what the end amount is. There's usually less credit involved than credit cards. The average, it depends on the average interest rate. Sometimes it fluctuates between 5 and 8%. And these loans, you have to apply for them. You have to apply for a credit card as well, but usually that's just sending in your information, and 9 times out of 10, the credit card companies will give you a credit card. Or you're standing in line at JCPenney and they ask you if you want to have a credit card because you'll save 20% on your purchase, and you fill out the paperwork, and then they decide right then and there whether you get the credit card. Loans are different. Loans, it takes a little bit amount of time because the bank is going to do research on you. They are going to be looking at your credit history. They're going to be looking at the decisions that you have made with credit cards and with your bills, and have you been making those bills on time. So they do a little bit more research for loans because it's a larger amount of money. So credit cards, short amount of time, less amount of money. Large loans are going to be larger amount of money over a larger set of time. Now, what does the bank do? Well, the bank is going to set the interest. They're going to tell you how much you're going to pay every month, and they're going to tell you the length of the loan. So how long do you have to pay it off? So in this particular situation with a loan, you need to look at the amount of the loan and how long you're going to have to pay it off. So the more time that you have to pay off the loan, so depending on whether it's a 24 or 36, could be even a 54 month loan, the more time you have to pay it off, the less amount in payments per month. But the total amount of the loan is going to increase because you're paying more in interest over time. So let's say that you get a loan for 24 months. It's a two-year loan, and the rate is 8%, and you are going to be paying that amount over time. So the total cost of the loan is going to increase. But let's say that we go with a 36-month loan. The amount of time then is 3 years to pay off the loan, but you're still set at 8% interest. You're going to be paying more in interest. Now, what I would like for you to think about as far as interest is concerned is that interest is the total amount of money that you are charged for using the bank's money. So it's the amount that the bank is charging you to use their money. So remember back in our savings conversation, the people putting their money into savings accounts, the bank is using that money to loan out to you in a loan. So they have to charge you to use that money. That's how banks make their money. They charge people for loans. So what you have to take into consideration when you are thinking about a loan, and your first loan is probably going to be if you go into secondary education, so going to college, depending on whether it's a 4-year, a 2-year, vocational school, whatever, you'll probably have to take out a loan because most people can't pay for that education up front. So you need to consider what you can afford to pay monthly and consider the total cost of a loan. And that will determine then your time that you're going to be paying on these loans. So if you are interested in seeing how time affects loans, I highly recommend going to this website here, and it's a calculator, a mortgage calculator. And most of the time with mortgages, you're talking about homes. So you're talking about 10-year, 15-year loans rather than monthly loans. And you can actually plug in the amount of time it takes you to pay off a loan, a mortgage for a house that could be $150,000 at a certain percentage per month. Well, this is our discussion on loans. Hopefully this information has helped you out.